This morning, President Biden's infrastructure and social spending bills remain in legislative limbo because of sharp divisions within the Democratic Party. Yesterday, he met virtually with 11 House Democrats about the pathway forward for these two bills. With me now is one of those Democrats, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. Congresswoman, thanks so much for being with us. What went on during that meeting? What did you leave with?
Thank you so much for having me join this conversation. Well, we talked about our priorities. I had the opportunity to speak with the president about what matters most to folks here in Virginia. First and foremost, it would be passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And then as we look towards the Build Back Better Act, which we continue to negotiate, I spoke about my priorities because they are those of the community I represent, allowing Medicare to negotiate the cost of prescription drugs, focusing on mitigating the issue and the challenges of climate change, and recognizing the incredible investment that has been the refundable child tax credit and expanding that into the future.
It's interesting. You talked about the things you like there. This might be the moment for blunt talk. And if this bill is going to come down from 3.5 trillion to around 2 trillion, 1.9 to 2.1, depending on how you slice it, and President Biden, CNN is reporting, is saying it will have to get down to that. What specifically would you drop?
Well, so in the conversation that we had, and there were members of the House from across the country, from Pennsylvania to Virginia to Texas, out to California and Iowa, everywhere in between. And we were focused on the programs that matter to our communities, the programs that have been or would be impactful. And taking a sort of building up approach. There's been a lot of discussion of, if we were to do everything, what would it be? But I think our approach, which I think reflects a level of pragmatism and focus on our communities, was what are all of the things we agree on? Let's build up from there. And so, I went into that meeting with my list of priorities and with a goal of conveying these are the things that matter to the community that I represent. And whatever we're going to do, we should do well. So if we're going to put new programs in place, we should give them the time to be successful. And we should make sure that they're impactful for the most Americans possible and for our larger communities and economy.
I get it. I'm just trying to figure out, as this moves forward, what might not be on that list. Paid leave is something that, depending on how you feel about the reporting that's out there, may be in jeopardy. What do you think about that?
Well, in our conversations, we were talking about the impact of supporting America's children, and through supporting America's children, supporting working parents. Particularly during COVID, we have seen women pull back from the workforce. And certainly as a nation, we do not begin to pull on the full strength of 50% of our workforce are our nation's women. And we have seen the impact of COVID has disproportionately impacted women as they've left the workforce to care for children as there were school closures. And even now when schools are open, the uneasiness with regular needs to perhaps quarantine if someone's had an exposure. And so with that goal of looking at how do we strengthen America's families, part of that conversation is the refundable tax credit. Part of that conversation is early childhood education, be that childcare, be that universal pre-K. And that's where the conversation that we had with the president is when we're trying to meet the goal of really investing in America's families and in the long-term success of our children, our future doctors, our future engineers, our future business entrepreneurs. What's the best way to do that now? And so among the things that we talked about were early childhood education, family leave, and child care. So working out the final details of what actually is pulled in the program is still currently something in negotiations.
Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, we're all watching and listening very closely as these discussions continue. It is crunch time. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much.